Welcome to Fly Down Mayhem. On today's episode, it's going to be going over a couple of close encounters we've had over the past week. The first one's going to be Kylie's up the bat, I'm behind the camera. The second one's a good friend of mine, James, who had a chance to get out with me over the weekend. And we had a pretty neat encounter too. So, with Kylie's encounter, it was literally a day after I had just shot my bird. We went back to the same blind, got set up, and immediately the birds were answering. Now this time they were actually on the bottom field instead of being up top, so we knew there was a good chance we were going to have some action. Guys, well, it's April 12th. Callie and I have been set up out here in the same blind location I shot my bird in yesterday. Got out of here a lot earlier than we did yesterday, which is what we wanted to do. Granted, we got out here, we forgot to stake the blind down. So when we came out here, the blind was actually on its side. So we had to do all that and get it set up in the dark. And so it was still nice. Birds started gobbling. We can see two of them from the roost right here, up in these big old oaks that I knew that they've roosted in years before, and I had planned out that they'd probably be roosting them this year too. And there was a gobble there. We had those birds gobbling all morning. They're answering back to every single thing. And then when they decided to fly down, they decided to just drop right down below them basically. Then we could hear a hen yelping not too long after they dropped down, so we're thinking they got some hens in there with them. And we're thinking they might do the exact same thing that the bird did yesterday. Because that was the first gobble that we heard. That was the first gobble since at least 7 o'clock. Yeah. It's been at least a half hour since we've heard them gobble. And like I said, they were madhouse from the roost. Then as soon as they dropped down, we didn't hear nothing. I think they gobbled one time after they got out of the roost. And that was back to those yelps. So we think, like I said, they got some hens with them. They're henned up right now. But we're hoping they do the same thing the one did yesterday. We're hoping that gobble is trying to come to me and communicate. Then hopefully he's done breeding those hens and he's going to work his way back to us and check out what we got out of here. So we're going to hang tight and just kind of hope that they make their way back here. So we'll see. Kylie's up the bat. I'm behind the camera this time. So hopefully we can get our bird today. Well, guys, we tried to be as patient as we possibly could and waited for these birds to possibly come out. But knowing they were henned up, we decided to go ahead and make a move on them. Well, we abandoned that ship. Same thing we did yesterday. Coming up to that top grass field. We haven't heard him gobble for a little bit. Just got right to the edge of this timber and heard him holler there. Only about 100 yards off. We're gonna try to get ahead of him. I'm gonna see if I can't set this decoy out. See if they won't come to us. So, try to get Callie on one. Hopefully it plays out. Well, we caught up to those toms just like we thought. They were on that top grass field and they had hens with them. Where we got to, they're only about 30-35 yards out in the field. But at that distance, and it was only bow season, we didn't want to take the shot. So we just kind of sat and watched. Well, as you can see, we made all the right choices. We moved, we got snuck up on them, but things just don't always go your way. Well, guys, this next hunt, we join James as he tries to get his first Kansas longbeard.
Right behind us, too. There's one out in front of us. Yeah, I know. I heard two, though.
Well, after that bird walked past us and just out of range, he ended up joining another tom that flew down.
Well, this is not going the way we wanted at all. Morning started out great. Got set up, had 3 toms right on this bottom field, somewhere between this field and the back field, and they were hammering all morning. Sat there, did a little call, and they were hammering back to me, and ended up actually having one fly out maybe 40-50 yards out from the blind. He just kind of sat there for a little bit, gobbled some, and then he ended up just walking about 30 yards out in front of the blind. And this might have been 30 or 40 yards, and he went right back here in this little pinch point where another tom had just flown down. Then they kind of just worked this row right up here next to us. They were only probably about 20 yards away, but they kept coming out of where we could see him, where we couldn't, where we could see him, where we couldn't. And James was trying to get situated to take a shot, and by the time he actually got situated, they were in this little tree line behind us and back there in that backfield in no time, because we actually heard all three of them fly down. The one came out here, and then one flew down right behind us, and he flew down first, and then the one out in the field, and the last one was the one down there. Then they went and joined the one back in the backfield, and they were back there gobbling. I mean, they're still gobbling, but they're back in this backfield behind us, gobbling for like an hour straight. My guess. It just seemed like forever. We called, did everything we could. We even actually got to the blind and was kind of looking to see where they were at, and they were 5 yards in the other field, just sitting there walking back and forth, back and forth. You know, I knew they were wanting us to come to them, more or less is what it came down to. See if we would. I mean, they're still gobbling. I don't know where they're working to, but they're hammering somewhere in the timber, getting farther and farther away from us. So, I mean, it's just amazing. That's what they do a lot of times. I mean, sat behind us gobbling all morning, just gobbled again, and then decided, well, you know, they were going to go ahead and move. And when they decided to move, they moved quick. Well, it seemed like nothing was going right with this hunt. Those birds actually headed back across the creek, were headed back up the roosting area. It sounded like they were headed back up to that top field. I mean, they were still gobbling by the time we were packing up and heading on. But we just figured, you know, we were already kind of pushing our luck that day. We didn't want to push them anymore. We want to keep them as high as we can, keep them in that area, and hopefully get a second chance at them. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Fly Down Mayhem. We had some great close encounters, and as you can tell, these birds are hot here in Kansas. So we're going to keep after them over the next few weeks, and hopefully we can put a few more down on the ground.